All right, hello. My name is Pete Freedman. I'm the founder and publisher of CentralTrack.com, and I'm here with some of the brain trusts at Deep Ellum 100. And we are back as part of the second round of the Deep Ellum 100 campaign. If you're watching this, I presume you probably have a sense of what this is, but this is a philanthropic effort in which we are kind of crowdsourcing some funds from people who give a damn about the neighborhood and are then turning those into grants, 4 different $2,500 grants that'll go out to representatives from kind of 4 pillars within the Deep Ellum community. I am excited to announce that we have hit the goal in our second fundraising campaign. We raised $10,000, and that's just an amazing achievement. So thank you to anyone who supported this venture. It really, I think, means a lot to the community, and also speaks to the community as well. So, yeah, so we have 4 categories. I will be going down the service industry. I know Brianne's going to be going down the musicians. We have small businesses here with Gianna, and then Chris is going to be detailing the, the visual artists. So what we're doing in this video is just detailing the applications, because as with last time, those who donated are going to be asked to vote on the applicants, and that is the democratic process we have come up with to determine who from each application category will be provided a grant. So without much further ado, I think we're just going to get into this. And I'm going to start reading the applications we got within the service industry. First up, we have Cody Binion, who I believe some of you might know better as Smooth. Cody is a bartender. Cody works at Black Swan Saloon, but I think you can find him DJing throughout the city. Here's what Cody writes. He says, being a bartender and DJ working Deep Ellum the last 4 years, COVID-19 has affected my livelihood completely. Having to turn to a different job is going to be very difficult with the experience I have, having only worked in entertainment or service. I'm pretty stumped and at a standstill. I think we can all relate to that. Next up, we have Lauren Aguilar. Lauren is a server at Niwa Japanese Barbecue. As Lauren writes here, Niwa closed in March and stayed closed until the second phase of opening when the riots happened and things closed down, and it has not opened since. I know they're working toward it, though, if they haven't already. They just reopened. Niwa was one of our first round grant winners. Lauren continues, my lease ended at the end of May, so I had to move in the middle of everything and haven't had the opportunity to go back to work. She's up to her ears in legal bills because she was behind on some bills from December to January, pre-COVID. She's applied for jobs and just recently landed a new one, but it won't be starting until August 17th. And it's a new establishment that will only be training. So I think that's something else that a lot of people can relate to. Next up, we have Ashley Adams. I know Ashley personally. She's a bartender both at 3 Links and at the Bomb Factory. So a regular face at some of our favorite music venues around the neighborhood. Ashley writes, given that both of her jobs are at music venues and no one really sees those opening until 2021, she's been waiting things out to see if this would all go away, but clearly it's time to figure things out. In the meantime, she's just asking for anything that could possibly help her with her bills. Next up, we have Jameen Van Hoy, who is also a bartender at Bomb Factory in Canton Hall. Janine writes, all my jobs were closed on March 13th when they first banned large gatherings. Her third job at the House of Blues has also been affected, so just a regular at the music venues here in town. And as she writes, sadly, none of her 3 jobs look like they're going to be returning at any point in the near future. 3 jobs, so all up in smoke. Next up, we have Jerry Ibarra. Jerry is also a member of the Bomb Factory and Canton Hall squad. As Jerry writes, I was a bartender at Bomb Factory and Canton Hall, both of which have been closed since March 15th and have no plans of reopening anytime soon. He, too, bartended at House of Blues, much like Janine, so it seems like they're triplicate co-workers there. She says Jerry also says that House of Blues closed when the gatherings of 500 people stopped, and he thanks everyone for their consideration. Next up, we have an employee at Tiki Loco, Cody McMillan. Cody writes, while the restaurant never actually closed, for which Cody is thankful, business hours, shift times, and tip amounts have fluctuated over the past few months and still have my paychecks. Even though I'm back up to working full-time, recently it's been increasingly difficult to stretch my money out to effectively cover bills, and sometimes I have to skip out or postpone buying some food. Cody's also been having some trouble with some credit card payments and is living paycheck to paycheck, and just the situation is getting really worrisome. Finally, Cody writes, I love working in and being part of Deep Ellum. Living here or working here has helped me really feel like I've found my place. Next up, we have Jennifer Parkhurst. Jennifer is an employee at On Premise. Jennifer writes, my job has been closed during the pandemic, and I never qualified for any government funding or stimulus check. I've been greatly affected by the situation, which was obviously wholly unplanned. I have no savings at the moment and no family here in the UNS to support me. So I think that's something else that a lot of people are dealing with. Next up, we have Anthony de Alcuaz, who is an employee at a number of spots around the neighborhood. Anthony writes, before the start of the pandemic, I was working nights to the nines and picking up day shifts at Cold Beer Company and Pedigo Electric Bikes. A year ago, I quit drinking and using, and when the furlough hit, it was almost enough to push me back into my old ways. With support from my service industry family, I stayed true to my sobriety and dove into a personal training program. Even started a small GoFundMe to help with my family and to raise money for the classes. And I dipped into personal savings to cover the rest of my training course. Over the past few months, I've completed that course, and we're working with my bar family in the gym for free just to keep the spirits up. But now that I'm done with my classes and ready to start my program, I need to file for insurance, get an LLC, and some more pieces of equipment to help with gym training. With this grant, I would be able to do that and start a free service industry boot camp. Exercise has always helped with my mental health, and I just want to be able to offer that to the rest of the service industry family that has given me so much, which I think is a very inspiring and cool story. Anthony notes that that GoFundMe campaign they started did raise $2,400 previously. Next up, and I think it's my last one because I've blitzed through these, is Cameron Gallman, who works actually just outside of Deep Ellum at Dos Equis Pavilion. But as Cameron writes, I've worked at numerous places in Deep Ellum, including Anvil Pub, Monkey King, and Brain Dead. Right now, though, things are tough because I'm high risk, and as is my daughter, and finding places to work right now is pretty much out of the cards. I'm hoping to just get by to cover rent and food. I've been able to apply for state benefits, but I've been waiting. Anything helps, and I hope everyone stays safe. So that is the probably dozen or so applicants within the service industry realm. So that's one of 4 pillars that we're going to be voting for. Kind of one person out of each group that we're all reaching will be given a $2,500 grant from the second round. So I believe these will all be posted as well for the donors to be able to choose from. So that everyone who, or do you want to just talk to that? This is Gianna Madrini, and she'll take things from here.
Thank you for supporting us on our second round of fundraising. We are just thrilled that we're able to do this, and we've been able to do this with your help. We had about 32 donors this second round, and we are hoping to be able to provide 4 grants. So the countdown is on. We starting today. If you donated to our campaign, you should receive an email that will give you a highlight of all the applicants that we're talking about today. So without further ado, I'd like to also jump into another category. This is Brianne Sargent, and she's going to talk about the musicians and the bands. She's a musician herself and has worked with a lot of people. I'm going to cover the business category, and then we have the visual artist, Chris Lewellyn from Lewellyn Printing will talk about some of the artist applications. But I must say that one of the things that we have seen this round is that we had a lot of service workers apply. So there are a few other ways to help your service workers, and I think you know a little bit more about that, Pete, so I want to hand it back to you.
As far as
service
what?
Industry tip.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of things out there. We compiled a resource list on centraltrack.com if you want to check it out. There's virtual tip jars, things like that. And I think also, where you can just, with all these things, just supporting them where possible. I think, a lot of restaurants are open right now. Just don't forget when you're ordering your food to take care of the people who are working there, and just tip them whatever you can because they're working hard for it. And splitting a smaller and smaller pool of, I think, clientele every day.
All right. Hi, I'm Bree. I'm a musician. Kind of been cooped up in my house with my cello and various instruments, teaching and trying not to lose my mind. But I'm glad to be reading off the musicians today, one of which I know personally pretty well. So let's just get into it. The first one I have is Kevin Cushingberry Jr. His band artist name is Kush with a C. And he says, on March 6th, I felt like I was on top of the world, or on top of the city, if you will. I had just had one of my best performances of the year in a music video for Freaknik, featuring Coach Tev, Debbie Stones, and Cyclerspliff. I really hope I didn't butcher that last name. And then the next week, the world stopped on its axis in what would lead to an unpredictable chain of events, and multiple friends and family of his were affected, including his mom, who lost her job, and he stepped up to pay her rent over the last few months on top of his personal bills. Luckily, he says he wasn't directly impacted by the virus health-wise, but he can definitely say that his life has been changed. So that is Kush with the C. Next, we have Brighton Dwindle, good friend of mine, his band Sagacious Zoo. Really great songwriter, guitarist, mandolin player. He says, during a time of reconstructing the band and recording our second EP, the pandemic dashed all live music opportunities for the group in the foreseeable future. Past gigs at Sundown, which I've shared the stage with him at a few times, House of Blues, Deep Ellum Art Company, all of their favorite local circuits that help sell merchandise and connect with the community have pretty much dissipated, stifled his income, and that income would normally be put towards studio recording. The grant would ultimately help him and the band release a collection of songs that otherwise may not see the light of day. Next musician we have is Wes Brown of Sniper Shot. Wes says, all of my live shows and my side job of setting up conventions and shows have been canceled indefinitely. Managed to play 5 shows before the last 2 shows on the books at the Armory and Deep Ellum Art Company, and those were canceled due to the pandemic. Even the last show at Artco ended early due to a balloon blowing up the electrical transformer outside. I think I actually heard about that. And even through all the hardships, he's making music and videos to inspire people. And through his YouTube channel, he's showing people how to grow food and also documenting a 100 fitness challenge. Released an album in May, and he's releasing a new album called True Story September 9th. Any financial help would boost ability to continue creating inspiring content for people during these odd times. So that is Wes from Sniper Shot. And I actually have one from Small Business to read. Eric Sachs with Quixotic World. They usually just hold like special events and private events and stuff like that. Kind of a niche venue. Really, really cool. Since early March, we've been virtually shut down. We're an event venue, and we've only had one event since March 13th. No one is booking events right now because of COVID and social distancing, and they can only survive so long without booking events. Anything would help. Okay, and that's all I got. I'm gonna pass it over to Gianni.
Thank you, Brianne. That's a category that I think we had a lot of musicians this first round, and you know, you know, one of our first grant winners was Cure for Paranoia, and we've had a lot of interaction with them. We love them. They have just managed to really continue to be creative, you know, and they say that this has been, you know, an incredible time of growth for them, because they're continuing to make music, and you know, the performances are still a big part of what they used to do, but you know, the performances were just a small part of the creative process. So it's been a real joy to work with Cure for Paranoia, and now I'd like to turn it over to Chris Lewellyn of Lewellyn Printing, and he's worked with us. He printed our beautiful T-shirts, which have been going like gangbusters. You know, we've had, you know, great success with the T-shirts, and he's going to talk about the visual artist who applied this round two.
Hi, I'm Chris Lewellyn, and I just want to thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this. I'm really inspired by and humbled by the ability to survive this, honestly, and I'm very grateful for the community stepping up for us, and hopefully now that we kind of have our oxygen mask on, we can start stepping up for them as much. But I'm going to get into appreciate that. I'm going to get into visual artists, and first is Raphael Crump, and he says, I'm a full-time fine artist, painter, illustrator, and graphic designer. All of my sources of income have been affected due to the coronavirus pandemic, and I wasn't eligible for Texas unemployment. I've run through my savings and my credit, and on the verge of losing my current residency. All of my income has been affected from art fairs, art shows, gallery support, and art events that have been canceled. I'm doing everything in my power to stay afloat, but things are becoming stressful and no other job opportunities are present for my skill set. Any help will greatly be appreciated, and I hope our art community can bounce back from these hard times. Thank you for the opportunity. And then we have Edward Ruiz, who is also known as Confetti Eddie, and he's a magician in more Expo Park-ish, Deep Ellum area. So
I think he performs a bunch at Quixotic World.
At Quixotic World as well, yeah. So Edward says, I had to close my magic parlor and art studio due to COVID-19. Even after several fundraising attempts, including taking the magic and art online, it wasn't enough to pay the bills. I had no choice but to give up my art gallery and magic parlor that I've operated for 26 years. In that time, I've helped hundreds of artists and musicians for many years, including winning numerous awards like Best Magic Parlor in 2014. I'm no stranger to living on the cheap, but I've been struggling to feed myself and pay bills. I still have a home, and I'm thankful for that. I'm hopeful that things will get better, but I do not qualify for unemployment, so I could use any dollar amount just to keep afloat till things restore to some kind of financial normality. I do not ask for help generally. I'm the one who often helps others, so it's been a humbling place to be for me, and thank you. And then also we have it would be under a business as well, small business, but it is the Deep Ellum Art Co. And it's John LaRue. He tells us that we've not been allowed to open and operate business as usual with only 9 days of normal operation since March 15th. We've relied entirely off of donations from patrons, viewers during our live stream, which we have successfully been doing for the last few months. We received some money from the PPP loans, but that money is completely gone as we have continued to pay our staff throughout this pandemic. We are a creative hub for local Dallas artists, as we are also an art gallery. Without being open and only being able to do a virtual gallery, our art sales have decreased drastically. We've joined forces with NIVA, National Independent Venue Association, helping push our legislator to pass the Save Our Stage Act. As being small independent venue who is just now hitting our 3-year mark, we are worried we will not make it to 4. We appreciate everything Deep Ellum 100 is doing, and thank you for consideration. And now I'll pass it back to Gianna.
So everyone should keep their eye out and listen to what the neighborhood and everyone is doing for Save Our Stages. Really they were just asking everyone to write to your senators and congresspeople to help the clubs and the live music venues, which are a big part of Deep Ellum. And so I appreciate everything that Deep Ellum Art Co. is doing, and it's an important venue here in Deep Ellum. But you're going to hear more about what the neighborhood will be doing with Save Our Stages. So stay tuned for that. And then I'll start talking about highlighting the business applications. So we have small businesses, which include bars and restaurants and small businesses in Deep Ellum. And the first one is Murray Street Coffee Shop. Liz and her husband Doug Kane are the people who run Murray Street Coffee Shop. They've been here for quite some time. It's a place everybody goes for meetings, for coffee, for hanging out. It's a great place. We love Murray Street. In comparison to many, Murray Street Coffee is fortunate. We've been able to partially reopen, and our small family of owners and servers have remained healthy. However, with sales hovering around 40% of pre-COVID days, no rent relief, and other increased costs, we aren't covering our costs to operate. The shop has never been profit-driven or made much financial sense, but we love serving the community, and we need to be rewarded with we have been serving the community and have been rewarded with incredible friendships in return. Any assistance to get through this pandemonium would be vastly helpful and appreciated. So that is Murray Street Coffee Shop. And next I have Frank Campagna of Kettle Art. I don't know if any of you have been to Kettle Art, but it's one of the galleries here in Deep Ellum on Main Street. Frank has been
Frank himself is like an institution.
Yes, Frank is a beloved hero of Deep Ellum, I can tell you that much. As you may be aware, Paula and I run Kettle Art Gallery, and we got married at the end of February. We went to New York City for our honeymoon the first week of March and returned on the 10th, just barely ahead of the virus exploding in the city. Upon our return, we had an art opening scheduled in place, and we were ready to rock on Saturday, March 14th. That was basically the last day we were open. The Deep Ellum Wine Walk, which we host every third Thursday, was also scheduled for that following week and had to be canceled. In other words, everything just stopped and has been stopped for months now. We have not tried to GoFundMe because I do not want to tap into our loyal fan base until it is truly extreme emergency. We could get a PPP loan, however, it's very complicated, especially with both of us being self-employed. I have not asked for unemployment because it seems like another way to be beholden to the state. I chose not to pay our first quarter sales tax due on April 20th because of the uncertainty of this situation. But finally, I did get caught just the other day. I did get caught up just the other day. This was to ensure we do not fall too far behind with the comptroller because they'll hit you with an extra $350 late fee. I guess the only good aspect of this whole ordeal is that they are due another payment by July 20th, and the amount is minuscule. Essentially, any savings we had have been set aside and dwindled through this pandemonium. We have opened our doors several times these past weeks, just in time for summer, our slowest season, and make it a point to exercise all proper sanitary precautions. Meanwhile, the numbers continue to rise in Dallas County, and I'm a bit wary of doing this anytime soon. Thanks for listening, and we're all doing everything we can to get through this damn thing, and appreciate any relief you can offer, Frank. That's just like Frank. Really, really lovely, important gallery here in Deep Ellum. Next we have the corn dog guy. His name is An Quoc Tran, and he says, "My name is An, and I used to run a food truck named the Corn Dog Guy out of Deep Ellum. We've popped up all over the place, from Deep Ellum Art Co. to Connect Co. to Double Wide, and even pulled our truck up to Bomb Factory. Since the first quarantine back in March, we were dead on site, and now we're sitting dead in the water. We're currently trying to sell the truck to get enough capital to get a lease somewhere and expand, or we might just try to reopen the truck. But with our current situation, we don't have any money to open." And I have Mary Borjas from Orange Salon, and Mary is a hairstylist and has been here in Deep Ellum for 10 or more years. She said, I had to close my salon because of COVID, and most of my clients are scared to come back in. The riots broke out. When the riots broke out, some of my windows were broken, and along with the curfew, that hit my schedule. Clients like to come in after work, so I lost a lot of clients that week. I have lost a lot of business, and who knows when and if my clients will feel safe coming back. It's been a very difficult time for of my small business. So that is Mary from Orange Salon, and I think that's all the business applications that we have.
So I think if you're this far into the video, you probably care a lot about Deep Ellum, and you're watching for a reason. I think I can speak for all of us up here that it's not particularly fun reading these stories, but I think hearing the situations that our community is in is an important reminder that people are still going through a hard time. Things have not necessarily improved vastly. In fact, just like the kind of hanging on act itself is becoming a tall order. So I think the four pillars here of visual artists, service industry, small business, and musicians. There are many. There's a great diversity, I think, within even the categories that you heard. And Deep Ellum, fortunately, I think always comes and steps up for its people. And I think that that we were able to raise the second round of $10,000 really speaks greatly to that. It's a shame that maybe it so often has to stand up for and take care of its own. But these are certainly extenuating circumstances. So thank you for caring enough to watch up until this point. Thank you for supporting this notion, which in turn is supporting the neighborhood. And just thank you so much. It's like I said, it's not easy to hear this stuff, but I think it's important to know the plight of our brothers and sisters in this community. I don't know if there's anything else I have to say, but do you want to send us off, Gianna?
Well, we have, as I said, the countdown has begun, and now we have until the 14th to vote for the 4 categories. So you should receive an email and with a link to the survey. And as soon as we tally up all of the responses, we will announce the winner on September the 15th. So we're counting on your participation for you to vote and help us select the winners. That's how this works. And we can't thank you enough for stepping up and helping the Deep Ellum neighborhood. Everyone has a Deep Ellum memory, and I think in that survey we also asked, what's one of those special memories that you have from Deep Ellum, and we'd like to share those with the people from our community. Thank you again, and look for that email and help us select the recipients. Space time.